A corrupt cop violently arrests a black woman, but what he doesn't know is she's the new state lawyer assigned to investigate him. He slams her to the ground, thinking he's unstoppable, until she makes one phone call that turns his world upside down. As his lies start to unravel, secrets buried deep inside the police department rise to the surface, threatening to take everyone down with him. But with powerful enemies watching her every move, this fearless lawyer must fight for her life. Can one woman's courage bring justice to a city drowning in corruption? Or will the forces protecting the guilty destroy her before the truth is exposed? Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Fairgrove's downtown streets as Tasha Reed drove her father's old Buick sedan. The car's familiar leather seats held memories of her childhood. Countless drives to school, Sunday church services, and the proud day she passed the bar exam. Now, driving away from the cemetery where she'd just visited his grave, those memories felt especially close. She adjusted the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of herself in her tailored navy suit. Deputy State Attorney. The title still felt new on her tongue, even 3 weeks into the appointment. Her father would have been proud, she thought, remembering his unwavering support through law school despite working double shifts to help pay her tuition. "Look at you now, baby girl," she could almost hear him say. The thought brought a slight smile to her face as she navigated the quiet streets of downtown Fairgrove. The Buick's engine hummed softly. Her father had maintained it meticulously until his final days. She'd kept up the tradition, though some of her colleagues questioned why the deputy state attorney drove a 20-year-old car instead of something newer, something more fitting for her position. "This car has character," she'd tell them, but the truth ran deeper. Every time she sat behind the wheel, she felt connected to her father's legacy of dignity in the face of adversity. He taught her to hold her head high, to fight injustice with intelligence and determination rather than anger. Traffic was light as she crossed through the historic district, passing the old courthouse where she'd won her first case. The brass-trimmed clock tower stood proud against the dimming sky, its face gleaming in the sunset. Tasha checked her watch. Still enough time to review some files before tomorrow's meeting with the Police Oversight Committee. The streets grew quieter as she turned onto Maple Avenue, lined with its mix of small businesses and Victorian-era homes. Her father used to say this street showed both sides of Fairgrove, the pristine front porches and the crumbling sidewalks, the fresh paint and the peeling shutters. Everything depended on which end of the avenue you lived on. Lost in thought, Tasha almost missed the flash of red and blue lights in her rearview mirror. Her heart rate picked up slightly, an instinctive response she hated but couldn't shake. She was doing nothing wrong. The speed limit here was 35, and she'd been driving carefully as always. Following procedure exactly as she'd advised countless clients, Tasha signaled and pulled to the curb, positioning the car well out of traffic. She placed both hands on the steering wheel, visible and still. The cruiser stopped behind her, its lights painting the street in alternating colors. Through her side mirror, she watched a broad-shouldered officer emerge. His swagger was visible even in the growing dusk, the kind of walk that spoke of authority worn like armor. He approached with his hand resting on his hip, uncomfortably close to his holster. The sharp rap of a flashlight against her window made her jump despite her preparation. The beam swept across her face, momentarily blinding her. She squinted against the harsh light, maintaining her calm despite the unnecessarily aggressive gesture. "Roll it down," came the gruff command, the flashlight beam unwavering. The voice belonged to Officer Brent Maddox. She recognized it from several court appearances, though they'd never directly interacted. Tasha kept her movements slow and deliberate as she pressed the window control. The old mechanical motor whirred as the glass descended, and she could feel the tension radiating from the officer even before the window was fully open. "License and registration," Maddox barked, his flashlight beam now scanning the interior of the car. The light lingered on the small photo of her father she kept clipped to the visor, then swept back to her face. Tasha remained still, her hands firmly on the wheel. "Officer, may I reach for my purse to get my license?" Her voice was steady, professional, the same tone she used in court. Maddox's response was immediate and sharp. "I said license and registration. You deaf?" The flashlight beam jerked back to her face, deliberately catching her eyes. The old familiar knot formed in Tasha's stomach. Not fear exactly, but a deep, weary recognition. She'd seen this type of behavior before, both professionally and personally. Her father's words echoed in her mind. "Stay calm. Stay smart. Stay alive." The tension hung in the air like static before a storm, as Officer Maddox continued to tap his flashlight against her window frame, each metallic click marking another second of this increasingly hostile encounter. Tasha slowly reached for her purse on the passenger seat, keeping her movements deliberate and visible. "I'm getting my license now, Officer Maddox." "How do you know my name?" he snapped, his flashlight beam jerking to follow her hands. "I've seen you testify in court," she replied calmly, retrieving her wallet. "I work at the—" "Shut up and show me the ID." Maddox cut her off, his voice hard with authority. "And the registration, now!" Tasha handed over her driver's license, then reached for the glove compartment. "The registration is in here, officer." Maddox snatched the license from her hand, studying it under his flashlight. His expression shifted, a sneer forming at the corners of his mouth. "This your car, Ms. Reed? It belonged to my father. It's now registered in my name." "Right." He drew out the word, heavy with skepticism. "And where'd your father get a Buick Park Avenue? These were pretty expensive cars back in the day." Tasha felt heat rise in her chest, but kept her voice level. "My father worked hard for everything he had, Officer Maddox. Is there a reason you pulled me over? You got an attitude problem, Ms. Reed?" He leaned closer to the window, his bulk blocking the streetlight. "Because I'm not liking your tone. I'm simply asking why I was stopped. I have the right to know." Maddox's face hardened. "You were swerving, crossing the center line." "That's not true," Tasha stated firmly. "I was driving perfectly straight. If you check your dash cam—" "Are you calling me a liar?" Maddox's voice dropped dangerously low. "Step out of the vehicle." "I decline to exit the vehicle, officer. I've done nothing wrong, and I don't consent to any searches." "I said get out!" Maddox yanked the door handle, but it was locked. He slammed his palm against the window frame. "Out! Now!" Tasha's heart hammered in her chest, but she remained composed. "Officer Maddox, I'm informing you that I'm recording this interaction on my phone. You have no probable cause." "Recording me?" "That's it." Maddox stepped back, unholstering his weapon. "Out of the car now, or I'll break this window and drag you out." Tasha's legal training warred with her survival instinct. With slow, precise movements, she unlocked the door. "I want to state clearly that I'm complying under duress and protest." The moment the door opened, Maddox grabbed her arm, yanking her from the seat with bruising force. Tasha's shoulder wrenched painfully as he spun her around. "You people always think you know the law," he growled, shoving her face first against the car. "Always running your mouths about your rights." "This is assault," Tasha said firmly, even as he twisted her arm behind her back. "You're violating my civil rights under color of law." "Shut up!" Maddox kicked her feet apart, his knee pressing into her back. "You stole this car, didn't you? Where'd you really get it? This is my vehicle. I've shown you my ID and—" Before she could finish, Maddox grabbed her hair and yanked her backward, throwing her off balance. She stumbled, and he used the momentum to slam her onto the pavement. The impact knocked the wind from her lungs. Concrete scraped her cheek as Maddox dug his knee into her back, grinding down with his full weight. The cold steel of handcuffs bit into her wrists as he ratcheted them tight enough to cut off circulation. "Stop resisting!" he shouted, though she hadn't moved. "Stop resisting!" Through the ringing in her ears, Tasha heard voices. Looking sideways from her position on the ground, she saw people gathering on the sidewalk. Several had phones raised, recording the scene. "Hey, she wasn't doing anything!" someone called out. "Shut up and back off!" Maddox yelled at the crowd. "This is police business." Tasha tasted blood where her lip had split against the pavement. She forced herself to speak clearly, projecting her voice for the witnesses and their cameras. "I am not resisting. I have done nothing wrong. This officer is using excessive force and violating my constitutional rights. I said shut up!" Maddox yanked her to her feet by the handcuffs, sending sharp pain through her shoulders. He shoved her toward his patrol car as more phones appeared in the growing crowd of onlookers. Through the haze of pain and adrenaline, Tasha noted faces, counted cameras, memorized details. Every witness, every recording would matter later. Her father had taught her to always think ahead, even in the worst moments. "You're going to jail," Maddox hissed in her ear as he pushed her toward his cruiser. "Going to learn some respect." Tasha kept her head high, even as blood trickled down her chin. The crowd of witnesses had grown larger, their phones still recording. She spoke again, calm and clear. "I want everyone to note that it's now 6:42 p.m. on May 15th. Officer Maddox has assaulted me without provocation or probable cause. I am complying under duress, and I require immediate medical attention." The fluorescent lights of the precinct buzzed overhead as Maddox marched Tasha through the station's back entrance. Her shoulders ached from being cuffed behind her back for the entire ride, during which he'd taken every sharp turn at high speed, making her slam against the partition. Two officers looked up from their desks, Simmons and Hartley, according to their name tags. They watched with mild interest as Maddox paraded his catch past them. "Look what we got here, boys," Maddox announced, shoving Tasha forward. "Another stolen vehicle case." "The car belongs to me," Tasha stated clearly, keeping her voice steady despite her split lip. "As my license and registration clearly show." "Sure it does." Maddox grabbed her arm again, steering her toward the booking desk. "Just like that attitude of yours belongs in jail." Behind the high counter, Lisa Granger, the station clerk, looked up from her computer. Her eyes widened slightly at Tasha's visible injuries. The scraped cheek, the swelling lip, the way she held herself against the pain in her shoulders. "Jesus, Maddox," Simmons called out, leaning back in his chair. "What did she do? Try to scratch your paint job?" Maddox's laugh was ugly. "This one thought she knew the law better than me. Had to teach her different." He prodded Tasha's bruised shoulder, making her wince. "Not so smart now, are you?" "I need these injuries documented," Tasha said to Lisa, maintaining eye contact with the clerk. "And I require medical attention." "She's fine," Maddox cut in. "Lisa, let's skip the paperwork on this one. Just book her for resisting arrest and vehicle theft." Lisa's fingers hesitated over her keyboard. I have to document any visible injuries, Officer Maddox. It's procedure." "Since when do you care about procedure?" Maddox's tone turned sharp. "Just process her, and let's get this done." "The injuries need to be photographed," Lisa insisted quietly, reaching for the camera kept under the counter. "For Christ's sake," Maddox muttered. He yanked Tasha around to face Lisa. "Fine, take your pictures. Show everyone how this troublemaker got what she deserved." Lisa raised the camera, her hands trembling slightly as she photographed Tasha's face from multiple angles. The flash highlighted every scrape and bruise. "Make sure you get her shoulder too," Hartley called out, his voice carrying a note of concern. "The way you're yanking her around, Maddox." You want to file a complaint about my arrest procedures, Hartley? Maddox challenged. Just saying, maybe ease up a bit, Hartley replied, but he quickly looked back at his paperwork. Lisa finished taking photos and began entering information into the computer. I need your full name for the record, she said to Tasha. Natasha Marie Reed, Tasha replied clearly. Date of birth, March 12, 1985. Maddox snorted. Probably all fake ID anyway. You should see the car she was trying to pass off as hers. No way someone like her could afford… Someone like me? Tasha interrupted, her voice sharp but controlled. Please clarify what you mean by that, Officer Maddox. You know exactly what I mean, he sneered, tightening his grip on her arm. Lisa's typing slowed, her discomfort visible. Occupation? She asked, trying to move things along. Before Tasha could answer, Maddox cut in again. Put down unemployed. Probably living off welfare like the rest of… I would like to make my phone call now, Tasha stated firmly, cutting off his racist implications. Maddox laughed. Oh, you want your phone call? Sure, go ahead. Call whoever you want. He finally released her arm, gesturing toward the wall-mounted phone with exaggerated courtesy. Let me guess. Your public defender? Or maybe your parole officer? The handcuffs, Tasha reminded him, keeping her tone professional despite the burning anger in her chest. What? You can't dial with cuffs on? But he unlocked them roughly, shoving her toward the phone. Make it quick. Your cell's waiting. Tasha rolled her shoulders carefully, trying to restore circulation to her arms. She could feel Maddox watching her, practically smell his satisfaction at having her in custody. He thought she was powerless, just another victim he could abuse without consequences. She lifted the phone, every movement deliberate and composed. Despite her injuries, despite his attempts to humiliate her, she refused to show weakness. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Never let them see you break. Go ahead, Maddox taunted from behind her. Call whoever you think is going to help you. I've got all night. Tasha dialed Jordan's number from memory, keeping her back straight despite the pain. The phone rang twice before his familiar voice answered. Jordan Hayes speaking. Jordan? It's Tasha. She kept her voice steady, professional. I need you to execute Emergency Protocol 7 immediately. There was a brief pause as Jordan processed what she was saying. Emergency Protocol 7 was their code for serious trouble requiring immediate action. Tasha? What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm currently at the Fairgrove Police Station's Central Precinct, she continued calmly. Please notify Chief Prosecutor Bennett that I have been unlawfully arrested and assaulted by Officer Brent Maddox. The incident occurred approximately 40 minutes ago on Oak Street. Behind her, she heard Maddox snicker. Assault? That's a pretty big word for someone who… The footage is already uploaded to my secure cloud drive. Tasha spoke over him, her voice clear and precise. Access code Sierra November 41. Multiple civilian witnesses recorded the incident. Please ensure all footage is preserved immediately. Jordan's typing was audible through the phone. I'm accessing it now. Oh my God, Tasha. Your face. They hurt you? Please move quickly, Jordan. Time is critical. On it. I'm calling Elaine right now on my other line. More typing sounds. The footage is being secured. Do you need medical attention? Yes, Tasha confirmed, though it's currently being denied. Maddox stepped closer, his presence intentionally intimidating. Wrap it up. Your time's up. Jordan, please hurry. Tasha kept her voice steady. And contact Internal Affairs immediately after. Maddox grabbed for the phone, but Tasha smoothly turned away, maintaining her grip. Don't make this worse for yourself, he growled. I'm hanging up now, Jordan. Act fast. She placed the phone back in its cradle with deliberate care, then turned to face Maddox. Thank you for allowing me my legal right to a phone call, officer. His face had reddened. You think you're real smart, don't you? Throwing around big words, making threats. I haven't made any threats, Tasha corrected him. I've simply exercised my rights and documented your actions. Lisa, still at the booking desk, watched the exchange with growing anxiety. Even Simmons and Hartley had stopped pretending to work, their attention fixed on the confrontation. Your rights? Maddox stepped closer, using his height to loom over her. Your rights are whatever I say they are. And right now, you're going in a cell until I decide different. He reached for her arm again, but the station's front doors burst open. Captain Roger Klein stormed in, his face flushed and his tie askew. Maddox! The captain's bellow echoed through the station. What the hell have you done? Maddox turned, startled by his superior's tone. Captain, I was just booking this suspect for… This suspect? Klein's voice rose even higher. This suspect? Do you have any idea who this is? Some troublemaker trying to pass off… This is Natasha Reed. Klein's hands were shaking as he jabbed a finger at Tasha. Deputy State Attorney Natasha Reed. The woman Governor Williams just appointed to oversee police misconduct investigations. The silence that fell over the station was absolute. Lisa's hand flew to her mouth. Simmons actually dropped his coffee mug, dark liquid spreading across his desk unnoticed. Maddox's face drained of color. What? Deputy State Attorney? Hartley whispered. The same Deputy State Attorney who's scheduled to review our department next month, Klein continued, his voice cracking with fury. The same Deputy State Attorney whose appointment ceremony I attended last week? Tasha stood quietly, her posture perfect despite her injuries, watching as Maddox's world began to crumble around him. Captain, I didn't… Maddox started. Shut up! Klein roared. Just shut your mouth before you make this even worse. He turned to Tasha, his anger instantly replaced with desperate professionalism. Ms. Reed, I cannot begin to express… Captain, Tasha interrupted smoothly. I believe Officer Maddox was about to process me into a cell. Shall we continue with that? Or has my status in the justice system suddenly changed? The question hung in the air like a sword. Maddox had gone completely still, the full impact of his actions finally hitting him. Lisa stared at her computer screen, her fingers frozen over the keyboard. Even Klein seemed at a loss for words. That won't be necessary, Ms. Reed, the captain finally managed. You're free to go, of course, and I assure you, this incident will be documented. Tasha finished for him. Yes, it will. Every moment of it. She turned to Lisa. Please make sure those injury photos are properly logged. I'll need copies sent to my office immediately. Yes, ma'am, Lisa whispered, her fingers trembling as she typed. Maddox shifted his weight, his earlier swagger replaced by nervous energy. Ms. Reed, there's been a misunderstanding. If I'd known who you were, if you'd known who I was, Tasha's voice cut through the station like a blade. Would that have changed how you treated me? Should it? The officer's mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Captain Klein, Tasha turned to address the superior officer, her voice crisp and professional. I require Officer Maddox's body camera footage from the incident, along with any dashboard camera recordings. Additionally, I need all radio communications preserved and transcribed. Klein nodded quickly, too quickly. Of course, Ms. Reed. We'll get that to you right away. He shot a meaningful look at Hartley, who scrambled to his feet. Actually, Tasha held up a hand, I'd prefer Officer Maddox handle it himself. Under your direct supervision, of course. Maddox's face reddened again. Ms. Reed, I really think… Officer Maddox, she interrupted. Your body camera is still running, correct? Department policy requires it remain active until the end of an incident. He reached up to touch the camera instinctively. Yes, but... Then please proceed to the evidence room and prepare to download the footage. Now. Captain Klein cleared his throat. Officer Maddox, you heard the deputy state attorney. Move. Maddox trudged toward the evidence room, his shoulders slumped. Klein followed close behind, leaving Tasha with Lisa, who was still processing the booking photos. Ms. Granger, Tasha said softly, causing the clerk to jump. Please ensure those photos clearly show the abrasions on my wrists from the handcuffs and the bruising on my face. Yes, ma'am, Lisa's voice quavered. I'm so sorry about all this. Don't be sorry. Be thorough. In the evidence room, Maddox fumbled with the body camera's data cable, his hands shaking slightly. Captain Klein stood watch, arms crossed. The footage better be intact, Maddox, Klein warned in a low voice. If anything's missing, it's all there, Maddox snapped, though his voice lacked conviction. The camera's contents began transferring to the station's secure server. Tasha appeared in the doorway, her presence making both men stiffen. I trust everything is proceeding correctly. Yes, ma'am, Klein assured her. We're following all proper protocols. Good. Because I've just received confirmation that the civilian footage has been secured by my office. She held up her phone. Multiple angles. High definition. Very clear audio. Maddox's hand slipped on the keyboard. I'll also need your incident report before I leave, Tasha continued. Every detail, Officer Maddox. Every word spoken. Every action taken. I expect it to match the video evidence perfectly. That could take some time, he stammered. I'll wait. The next hour crawled by in tense silence. Maddox typed his report, backspacing frequently, while Tasha stood nearby reviewing the booking photos on Lisa's computer. Captain Klein made several calls, his voice carrying from his office in agitated bursts. Finally, Maddox printed the report. His signature at the bottom was shaky. Here, he said, holding out the papers. Everything's there, just like you asked. Tasha took the report, reading it carefully. Her eyebrows rose at several points, but she said nothing until she finished the last page. Interesting, she said finally. You claim I was argumentative and aggressive during the traffic stop, that I resisted repeatedly and posed a threat to your safety. That's how I perceived the situation, Maddox defended weakly. We'll compare that perception with the video evidence. She tucked the report into her bag. I'll need copies of all your previous incident reports as well. The last 5 years should suffice. Previous reports? Klein stepped forward. Ms. Reed, surely that's not necessary. It's not only necessary, Captain, it's mandatory. Part of my office's standard review process. She smiled thinly. Which you'd know, had you read the memo I sent last week about my upcoming departmental audit. The color drained from Klein's face. The audit? Yes, of course. I'll expect those reports on my desk first thing tomorrow morning. Tasha straightened her jacket, wincing slightly at the movement. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some ice packs calling my name. She walked out of the station with her head high, leaving behind a wake of stunned silence. Later that evening, in her office downtown, Tasha pressed an ice pack to her cheek while scrolling through Maddox's personnel file on her computer. Jordan had compiled it quickly, along with the civilian videos and other evidence. This can't be right, she muttered, scrolling faster. 27 excessive force complaints in 5 years, all dismissed? She clicked through report after report. African-American drivers, Hispanic teenagers, a Muslim woman in a hijab, all allegedly resisting arrest or behaving aggressively, all injured during their encounters with Officer Brent Maddox, all quietly buried by the department. Tasha set down the ice pack and touched her bruised cheek gently. The face in her reflection on the computer screen looked back with steel in its eyes. Not this time, she whispered. Not one more victim. She reached for her phone to call Chief Prosecutor Bennett. The time for action had come. The morning sun streamed through the windows of the state attorney's office as Tasha spread documents across Elaine Bennett's desk. Her bruises had darkened overnight, a stark reminder of yesterday's encounter. 27 complaints, Tasha said, tapping a thick folder. All swept under the rug, and those are just the ones who dared to file formally. Elaine leaned forward in her chair, examining the photos from Tasha's arrest. Her normally composed face tightened with anger. This is barbaric. And you say there's video? Multiple angles. Tasha pulled up the footage on her tablet. Plus his own body cam. Though I suspect he'll try to lose that recording if we don't move quickly. They watched in silence as the scene unfolded on screen. Tasha's calm responses, Maddox's escalating aggression, the violent takedown. Jesus, Elaine muttered, rubbing her temples. He didn't even try to hide his behavior. Did he really not know who you were? Would it matter if he did? Tasha's voice was sharp. This is how he treats people who look like me. The only difference is, this time, he picked the wrong target. Elaine nodded slowly. You want to launch a full investigation. Not just into Maddox, the whole department. Tasha pulled out another file. Look at these dismissal patterns. Captain Klein's signature on every buried complaint. Internal affairs investigations that go nowhere. It's systematic. You understand what you're taking on? Elaine's eyes were concerned. The police union will fight back hard. They have friends in the mayor's office, on the city council. I know the risks. Tasha's voice was firm. But I also know what happens if we do nothing. How many more people need to be brutalized before someone takes a stand? Elaine studied her for a long moment. Tell me your plan. Tasha laid out a document she'd prepared overnight. First, we file for an emergency injunction to preserve all evidence. Body cam footage, dash cams, radio transcripts, everything. We need to move on this today, before anything conveniently disappears. I can have that ready within the hour, Elaine said, making notes. Next, we petition for a special grand jury. Tasha pointed to relevant sections of her outline. We present Maddox's pattern of abuse, backed by statistical analysis, showing racial bias in his arrests and use of force. The union will claim it's all justified, that these were dangerous situations requiring aggressive response, which is why we need witnesses. Tasha pulled out another folder. I've identified 12 victims from the past 2 years alone. Most were too afraid to pursue complaints, but with official protection and the promise of justice. She paused. They just need to know someone's finally listening. Elaine drummed her fingers on the desk. The department will close ranks. They always do. Not all of them. Tasha leaned forward. That clerk yesterday, Lisa Granger? She was horrified by what happened. Officer Hartley couldn't even look me in the eye. There are good people in that department who are tired of covering for the bad ones. Whistleblowers. Potential allies. If we show them there's a real chance for change this time. Tasha's voice grew passionate. This isn't just about punishing Maddox. It's about breaking the cycle of protection that lets officers like him operate with impunity. Elaine stood and walked to her window, looking out over the city. The political fallout will be intense. The mayor's up for re-election. He'll pressure us to handle this quietly. Let him try. Tasha's tone was steel. I've got the law on my side, clear evidence of misconduct, and a badge of office that says I'm exactly the right person to pursue this. Turning back, Elaine's face broke into a slight smile. You know, when I recommended you for deputy state attorney, some people said you were too young, too idealistic. And what did you say? I said they were missing the point. What we needed wasn't another political player. We needed someone with the courage to do what's right, regardless of the consequences. She returned to her desk and picked up Tasha's investigation outline. Walk me through the timeline you're proposing. For the next hour, they refined the strategy. Elaine's experience helped identify potential pitfalls and strengthen their legal approach. They were so focused, they barely noticed when Jordan knocked on the door with coffee and updates on the evidence preservation orders. One more thing, Tasha said as they wrapped up. I want to hold a town hall meeting once the investigation is public. Give the community a chance to speak directly about their experiences with the department. That could be volatile. It needs to be. People are angry, and they have every right to be. Better to channel that anger into the official record than leave it festering. Elaine nodded slowly. All right, I'll assign Amy Chen to help coordinate the investigation. She's thorough, discreet, and she's handled police misconduct cases before. Thank you. Tasha gathered her materials. I know this puts you in a difficult position. I've been in this office 20 years, Elaine replied. I've seen too many chances for real change slip away because people chose political convenience over justice. Not this time. They stood, and Elaine came around the desk to hug her carefully, mindful of her bruises. Be careful, Tasha. Watch your back. Always do. Tasha took the elevator to the parking garage, her mind already racing with next steps. She'd need to contact potential witnesses, coordinate with Amy, prepare public statements. She was so preoccupied, she almost missed it. A black SUV with tinted windows pulling out of a spot just as she started her car. But as she drove toward her office, she caught glimpses of it in her rearview mirror. 3 cars back, then 4, maintaining a steady distance, following her. Tasha parked her car in front of the small community center on Maple Street, deliberately choosing a public location for these sensitive meetings. The black SUV that had followed her was nowhere in sight, but she remained alert as she gathered her files and recorder. Inside, the center's main room was modest but welcoming, with soft lighting and comfortable chairs arranged for privacy. Henry Wallace was already waiting, his weathered hands clasped tightly in his lap. At 72, he carried himself with dignity, despite the slight tremor in his movements. Thank you for meeting me, Mr. Wallace, Tasha said, taking a seat across from him. I know this isn't easy to talk about. Henry nodded slowly. When your office called, I almost didn't come. But then I saw the news about what happened to you. He gestured to her visible bruises. Seems like nothing's changed with that man. Tasha placed her recorder on the table between them. Would you mind if I record this? It's completely up to you. Go ahead. About time somebody heard the truth. Henry straightened in his chair. It was last summer. I was walking home from the corner store. Same walk I've made for 40 years. Officer Maddox stopped me. Said I matched the description of a suspect. His voice grew tight. I tried to explain I lived just down the block. Showed him my ID, but he wouldn't listen. Started yelling about me being uncooperative. Henry's hands trembled more visibly. Next thing I knew, I was face down on the sidewalk. Dislocated my shoulder. Cracked 2 ribs. Did you file a complaint? Tried to. The desk sergeant said there was no point. It would be my word against an officer's. Said I should be grateful I wasn't arrested. Henry's eyes grew distant. My granddaughter wanted to raise hell about it, but I told her to let it go. Didn't want her getting targeted too. Tasha made careful notes as Henry shared more details. The date, the location, the names of witnesses. When he finished, she reached across and squeezed his hand gently. Not anymore, Mr. Wallace. No one's going to bury your story this time. After Henry left, Tasha had barely finished reviewing her notes when Maria Ortiz arrived. The woman was in her early 40s, but grief had etched deep lines around her eyes. She clutched a small photo album to her chest, like armor. Señora Ortiz, Tasha greeted her warmly in Spanish, having learned from the case file that Maria was more comfortable in her native language. Thank you for coming. Maria sat stiffly, her knuckles white against the photo album. You want to know about Diego? Only what you're comfortable sharing. Maria opened the album with trembling hands. The first photo showed a handsome teenage boy in a soccer uniform, his smile bright and confident. He was 17, had just made team captain. Her voice cracked. He was walking home from practice when... She paused, gathering strength. Tasha waited patiently. Officer Maddox said Diego was acting suspicious. Said he reached for something in his waistband. Anger flashed through Maria's tears. It was his phone. He was calling me to say he was almost home. I heard everything through the phone. Tasha's chest tightened as Maria described the shooting. 3 shots, no warning, no attempt to de-escalate. Just Maddox's voice shouting, and Diego's final, confused cry. The department ruled it justified, Maria continued, her voice bitter. Said Diego was aggressive. My boy? He helped old Mrs. Chen carry her groceries every week. He tutored kids at the community center. He wanted to be a teacher. She turned the pages of the album slowly, showing Diego's life in photographs. His quinceañera, school awards, family celebrations. They tried to make him into a criminal. But these show who he really was. Tasha studied each photo carefully, honoring the memories Maria shared. The department may have closed their investigation, but I'm reopening everything. Every incident, every complaint, every cover-up, Diego's case included. Maria looked up sharply. You can do that? As Deputy State Attorney, yes. And I promise you, I will get to the truth. Tasha leaned forward. But I need your help. Would you be willing to testify? To tell Diego's story to a grand jury? Fear flickered across Maria's face. The police. They said, if I made trouble. I know they threatened you. But you'll have protection this time. Official protection, and the full weight of my office behind you. Tasha gestured to her own bruises. I know what Maddox is capable of. But I also know that the only way to stop him is for people to stand up and speak out. Maria touched Diego's photo gently. He was so brave, my boy. Always standing up for what was right. She squared her shoulders. Yes, I will testify. For Diego and for all the others who can't speak anymore. Thank you. Tasha reached into her briefcase. I have some forms for you to sign and information about victim advocacy services. We'll make sure you have support through this whole process. As they went through the paperwork, Maria gradually relaxed, sharing more stories about Diego, his dreams for college, his volunteer work, the little sister who still asked when he was coming home. People need to know, Maria said finally, closing the photo album. Not just about how he died, but how he lived. He mattered. All of them mattered. Tasha walked her to the door. I promise you, Maria, these cases won't be buried again. We're going to make sure everyone knows the truth and that those responsible are held accountable. Maria hugged her suddenly, fiercely. God bless you, Ms. Reed. Diego would have liked you. You have his same spirit, fighting for what's right. After Maria left, Tasha sat alone in the quiet room, surrounded by her notes and recordings. The stories of Henry, Maria, and others she'd interviewed weighed heavily on her heart, but they also strengthened her resolve. This wasn't just about her assault anymore. It was about all of them. Every victim, every family, every life damaged by unchecked power and systemic abuse. She gathered her materials, her determination hardening into steel. These cases would not go unheard. Not this time. Not ever again. The evening air grew crisp as Tasha pulled into the church parking lot. Hundreds of flickering candles dotted the gathering crowd, their soft light reflecting off faces, both determined and somber. Gloria Fields stood on the steps, her silver hair gleaming as she handed out candles and directed volunteers. Tasha touched her bruises gently, wincing. They were more visible now, dark purple against her brown skin. She hadn't planned to show them, but Gloria had insisted. "Let them see," she'd said. "Let them know this isn't just statistics, it's real people, real pain." Gloria spotted her and hurried over, enveloping Tasha in a careful hug. "You made it. How are you holding up, baby?" "I'm okay." Tasha managed a small smile. "The interviews today were rough, but important. That's why we're here." Gloria pressed a candle into Tasha's hands, to show everyone affected by police violence that they're not alone anymore. The crowd had swelled to nearly 300 people. Tasha recognized faces from her interviews. Henry Wallace with his granddaughter, Maria Ortiz and her family, dozens of others who'd shared their stories. Community leaders, local activists, and ordinary citizens stood shoulder to shoulder, their candles forming a sea of light. Gloria took the microphone, her voice strong and clear in the night air. "We gather tonight to remember, to witness, to demand change." She gestured to the crowd. "Every candle here represents a life touched by police brutality. Every flame stands for justice denied, until now." She turned to Tasha. "We have with us tonight someone who knows firsthand what we're fighting against. Someone who could have stayed quiet, could have protected her career. Instead, she chose to stand with us. Deputy State Attorney Tasha Reed." The crowd applauded as Tasha stepped forward. Her bruises were clearly visible in the candlelight, drawing gasps from those who hadn't seen them. She took the microphone, her hands steady. "3 days ago, I was driving my father's car when Officer Brent Maddox pulled me over." Her voice carried across the hushed gathering. "He didn't know who I was, didn't care. He saw only what he wanted to see. A black woman he could abuse with impunity." She touched her face gently. "These bruises will fade, but the trauma inflicted by bad officers, that stays with us. It stays with Henry Wallace, 72 years old, slammed to the ground for walking in his own neighborhood. It stays with Maria Ortiz, who heard her son Diego's last breaths through a phone call." Tasha's voice grew stronger. "Today, I heard story after story of lives damaged or destroyed by officers who forgot their duty to protect and serve. Officers who thought they were above the law. Officers protected by a system that values silence over justice." She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. "But that silence ends now. As Deputy State Attorney, I'm launching a full investigation into Officer Maddox and every complaint filed against him, into every case where excessive force was excused, into every cover-up and every threat used to keep victims quiet." The crowd murmured in approval. Some called out, "Amen," and "About time." "But I can't do this alone," Tasha continued. "I need your help, your stories, your courage to stand up and say, 'No more.' Together, we can break this cycle of abuse and impunity. Together, we can make sure that what happened to me, to Diego, to Mr. Wallace, never happens again." Gloria joined her, raising her candle. "If you've been a victim of police brutality or witnessed it, we need you to come forward. Ms. Reed's office has set up a special hotline. You'll be protected. You'll be heard." The crowd surged forward, many with tears streaming down their faces. Some shared quick stories of their own encounters. Others simply wanted to touch Tasha's hand, to thank her for speaking out. Meanwhile, in a black sedan parked half a block away, Officer Brent Maddox gripped his steering wheel until his knuckles went white. He watched the vigil through narrowed eyes, his jaw clenched tight. Maddox pulled out his phone and dialed. "Bill, you seeing this circus?" Sergeant Draper's voice crackled through the speaker. "Yeah, I'm watching the live stream." "This is getting out of hand, Brent." That woman is going to ruin everything. Maddox's voice shook with rage. All these people coming forward. They're going to dig up every case. Calm down, Draper said sharply. We've handled complaints before. We can handle this. This is different. She's got real power, real authority. And now she's got the community behind her. Maddox watched as more people approached Tasha, sharing stories, offering support. We need to shut this down. Already working on it. Draper's tone turned calculating. I've got some friends at the paper looking into her background. And that incident from her law school days? The one she tried to keep quiet? That might be worth exploring. What about her mental state? Maddox suggested. After what happened, she's probably unstable, emotional, maybe even paranoid. We could use that. Now you're thinking. Draper chuckled darkly. Leave it to me. I'll start putting things in motion. Meanwhile, keep your head down and your mouth shut. Let me handle this. Maddox ended the call, still watching the vigil. The crowd had started singing now, their voices rising in the night air. His fingers drummed against the steering wheel as he glared at Tasha's figure, illuminated by candlelight. Enjoy your moment, he muttered, while it lasts. The morning news blared from Tasha's kitchen TV as she made coffee. Channel 4's anchor, Sarah Chen, stood in front of the church, reporting on last night's vigil. Deputy State Attorney Tasha Reid's emotional speech has ignited a firestorm of controversy, Chen said. The footage cut to Tasha's bruised face under the candlelight. Her allegations of systemic police misconduct have drawn both fierce support and sharp criticism. The screen split to show protesters gathering outside the police station, holding signs that read, "Justice for Tasha" and "Stop Police Brutality." Then it cut to Frank Delaney, Maddox's attorney, standing at a podium. Delaney, silver-haired and wearing an expensive suit, spoke with practiced concern. While we sympathize with Ms. Reid's emotional state after this unfortunate incident, her accusations are wildly overblown. Officer Maddox is a decorated veteran with an exemplary record. Tasha's phone buzzed. It was Jordan, her assistant. Are you seeing this? Yeah, I'm watching. Tasha sipped her coffee, grimacing at its bitterness. It gets worse. Check Channel 7. She switched channels. A different reporter stood outside the courthouse. Sources close to the investigation suggest Deputy State Attorney Reid has a history of mental health issues dating back to law school. Critics question whether her current allegations stem from paranoid delusions rather than fact. Tasha's hand tightened around her mug. They were really going there. The story cut to more footage of Delaney. Ms. Reid's behavior since the incident has been increasingly erratic. Her inflammatory speeches and baseless accusations against respected officers suggest she may not be fit for her position. You okay, boss? Jordan asked through the phone. They're following the playbook, Tasha said calmly. Discredit the victim. Protect the system. I expected this. The Herald just published a hit piece. They're calling you angry and unstable, playing up every stereotype in the book. On TV, protesters had filled the street outside the police station. Signs bobbed above the crowd, Black Lives Matter, and Hold Cops Accountable. The camera panned to show a line of officers in riot gear forming a barrier. Get me everything you can on Frank Delaney, Tasha said. His cases, his connections, especially any links to the police union. Already on it, but there's more. Social media's blowing up with threats against you. Some pretty specific ones. Tasha watched as the TV showed split-screen footage. On one side, community members sharing stories of police abuse. On the other, a counter-protest forming, with people wearing Back the Blue shirts and waving thin blue line flags. Keep tracking them, she said. Forward anything serious to security. I'm heading to the office. She hung up and finished getting ready, choosing a crisp navy suit that projected authority. The bruises on her face had darkened, but she didn't bother trying to cover them. Let people see. The drive to work was tense. Twice she noticed unmarked police cars following her, making no effort to be subtle about it. A message then: we're watching. At the courthouse, reporters swarmed her car. Camera flashes burst like lightning as she stepped out. "Ms. Reed, how do you respond to allegations about your mental health? Is it true you had a breakdown in law school? Are you letting personal bias cloud your judgment?" Tasha walked through them, head high, saying nothing. Security had to clear a path to the building's entrance. Inside her office, she found Elaine Bennett waiting. The chief prosecutor looked worried. "This is getting out of control," Elaine said. "The mayor's office is getting pressure from the police union. They're threatening legal action." "Let them." Tasha sat down, organizing files on her desk. "Everything I said is documented. Every victim I mentioned is real. Frank Delaney is well connected. He's already filed complaints with the Bar Association, claiming you're conducting a vindictive witch hunt." "Of course he has." Tasha pulled up security footage from her arrest on her computer. "But facts are facts. This video alone proves excessive force. They're saying you provoked Maddox, that you were combative and resistant. The video shows otherwise." Tasha turned the screen so Elaine could see. "Just like the videos from Henry Wallace's case, and Maria Ortiz's son, and dozens of others." Elaine sighed. "Just be careful. These people play dirty. They'll dig up anything they can use against you." After a long day of meetings and depositions, Tasha finally headed home. The sun had set, leaving the streets dark and quiet. Too quiet. She pulled into her driveway and immediately noticed something wrong. The porch light was out, though she distinctly remembered leaving it on. And Samson, her German shepherd, wasn't barking his usual greeting. Heart-pounding, Tasha approached her front door. In the beam of her phone's flashlight, she saw it. Crude letters spray-painted across the white surface. Racial slurs, threats. "Race traitor," in dripping red paint. "Samson," she called out, fumbling with her keys. "Baby, you okay?" The door swung open. Samson lay on his side in the hallway, breathing shallow. His water bowl was knocked over, liquid spreading across the floor. "No, no, no." Tasha dropped to her knees beside him. His eyes were unfocused, and he didn't respond to her touch. When she pulled out her phone to call the vet, her hands were shaking. "Emergency veterinary clinic," a voice answered. "My dog's been poisoned," Tasha said, struggling to keep her voice steady. "He's lethargic, barely breathing. I'm bringing him in now." She gathered Samson in her arms, his usual solid weight now limp and heavy. As she carried him to her car, a police cruiser drove slowly past her house, headlights off. Tasha met the officer's gaze through the windshield. Even in the darkness, she recognized Maddox's smirk. The cruiser continued on, disappearing around the corner. Tasha carefully laid Samson in the back seat, whispering, "Hold on, baby. Just hold on." The sun was just beginning to rise as Tasha sped through Fairgrove's empty streets, casting long shadows across the road. In the back seat, Samson's labored breathing filled the car. Every few minutes, she glanced in the rearview mirror, checking on him. "Stay with me, boy," she whispered, running a red light. No other cars were around at this hour. The emergency veterinary clinic's sign glowed bright against the purple dawn sky. Tasha pulled up to the entrance, tires screeching. Before she could call for help, two vet techs burst through the doors with a gurney. "He just collapsed," Tasha explained, helping them lift Samson. "He was fine when I left for work this morning." They rushed him inside where Dr. Angela Kim was waiting. The vet's face was serious as she examined Samson, checking his gums and listening to his heart. His symptoms suggest intentional poisoning, Dr. Kim said, drawing blood. Likely antifreeze or rat poison. We need to start treatment immediately. Tasha's phone buzzed. Jordan, where are you? He asked, sounding out of breath. Emergency vet on Oak Street, she said. Someone poisoned Samson. I'm 5 minutes away. Got something you need to see. Dr. Kim worked quickly, hooking Samson up to IV fluids and monitoring equipment. We'll run toxicology tests, but I'm starting him on the treatment for antifreeze poisoning. The next few hours are critical. Tasha stood by the examination table, stroking Samson's head. His eyes were closed, but his tail twitched slightly at her touch. Jordan burst in 15 minutes later, clutching his laptop. His usually neat appearance was disheveled, tie loose and hair messy. You need to see this, he said, opening his computer on a nearby counter. Someone leaked internal documents from the DA's office. They're all over social media. Tasha leaned in to look. Screenshots of confidential memos filled the screen. Case notes about Maddox, witness statements, even parts of her personal calendar. How? She asked, scrolling through the leaked documents. Had to be someone with high-level access, Jordan said. These were in restricted folders. Look at this one. He pointed to a memo detailing Tasha's strategy for building the case against Maddox. It included names of potential witnesses who hadn't gone public yet. Those witnesses could be in danger now, Tasha said, her voice tight. Call them all. Get them somewhere safe. Dr. Kim approached with test results. It was antifreeze, she confirmed. Mixed with food, probably. We're giving him ethanol therapy to counter the poisoning. The next 24 hours will tell us more. Tasha nodded, trying to focus. Can I stay with him? Of course. We've moved him to the critical care unit. They followed Dr. Kim to a quiet room where Samson lay connected to beeping machines. His breathing was steadier now, but he still hadn't opened his eyes. Jordan set up his laptop again. The leak happened around midnight. Whoever did it used a VPN, but they accessed the system from inside the building. Someone working late, Tasha said, settling into a chair beside Samson. Or someone who shouldn't have been there at all. I've got the building security logs here. Jordan pulled up another file. 7 people badged in after hours yesterday. Tasha leaned forward. Show me. The list included 3 janitors, a security guard, and 3 names from the DA's office. Mark Stevens from IT, Sarah Palmer from Records, and Assistant DA David Chen. Chen, Tasha muttered. He's been pushing hard for me to drop the Maddox case. He's also on the police union's payroll, Jordan said. I found payments going back 3 years. Consulting fees, they call it. Outside, the sun had fully risen. Samson stirred slightly, whimpering in his sleep. Tasha stroked his fur, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. Get me everything on Chen, she said. Bank records, phone logs, emails. If he's our leak, I want proof. Jordan nodded, fingers flying over the keyboard. Already started. But there's something else. Remember that black SUV that was following you? Hard to forget. It's registered to a private security firm. Guess who's on their board of directors? Let me guess. Frank Delaney? Got it in one. The same firm handles security for the police union. Dr. Kim returned with updated vitals. His numbers are improving, she said. The treatment's working. He's young and strong. I think he'll pull through. Tasha felt tears threatening but held them back. Thank you. I'll keep monitoring him hourly. Try to get some rest. But rest was impossible. Jordan worked while Tasha paced, making calls to protect witnesses and document the vandalism at her house. By afternoon, Samson was stable enough to be moved home. Strict bed rest, Dr. Kim instructed, helping Tasha get him into the car. And he'll need medication every 6 hours. The house felt different now. Violated. The spray paint still marred her door, though Jordan had called a cleaning service to remove it. Inside, the overturned water bowl had left a stain on the hardwood floor. Tasha settled Samson in his bed, while Jordan set up his laptop on her kitchen table. Empty coffee cups littered the surface as they pored over records, connecting dots. "Chen made 3 calls to Delaney yesterday," Jordan said. "All from a burner phone, but I traced the tower pings. And the leaked documents? Accessed using Chen's credentials, but at 12:17 a.m. Building cameras show him leaving at 9 p.m. So either he came back," Tasha said, "or someone used his login. The security guard on duty last night is Maddox's cousin." Tasha stood at her kitchen window, watching the sunset paint the sky orange. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture she didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. Someone in her own office, someone she worked with every day, had betrayed her, had endangered witnesses, violated confidentiality, maybe even helped poison her dog, all to protect corrupt cops. She turned back to the kitchen table, covered in evidence of the conspiracy against her. Her bruises ached, reminding her of Maddox's hands, his smirk as he drove past her house last night. The web was bigger than she'd imagined, reaching into her own department. But that only made her more determined to tear it all down. The morning light crept through Tasha's kitchen blinds as she dialed the state attorney general's office. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but exhaustion. Samson lay nearby in his bed, finally sleeping peacefully after a rough night of medication and monitoring. "Special Investigator Ellison," a deep voice answered on the third ring. "This is Deputy State Attorney Tasha Reed from Fairgrove County," she said, keeping her voice steady. "I need to discuss a matter of urgent police corruption. I've been following your case, Ms. Reed. The assault, the leaked documents, the intimidation. Give me 30 minutes. I'll meet you at Carson's Diner on 5th Street." Tasha arrived early, choosing a booth in the back corner where she could see both entrances. The diner was nearly empty, just a few early morning regulars nursing coffee cups. Marcus Ellison walked in exactly on time. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with gray threading his temples. His suit was crisp, but his eyes looked tired, like someone who'd seen too much corruption to be surprised anymore. "Ms. Reed," he said, sliding into the booth. He studied her face, noting the fading bruises. "I wish we were meeting under better circumstances." The waitress brought coffee. Tasha waited until she left before spreading out her files. "It goes deeper than Officer Maddox," she said, showing him the evidence of Chen's betrayal and the police union's involvement. "They're trying to bury this, and they have people inside my office helping them." Ellison examined the documents carefully, his expression darkening. "The surveillance, the leaked files, poisoning your dog. These are RICO-level violations. Organized corruption. I need help," Tasha admitted. "They've compromised my office. I can't trust my own colleagues." "You've done good work here," Ellison said, tapping the files. "But you're right. This is bigger than one dirty cop. It's systematic." He pulled out his phone, checking something. "I can have a team here by noon. We'll set up a secure office, independent of local law enforcement." "What about the witnesses? Their names were leaked." "We'll put them under state protection. No local officers involved." He paused, studying her. "You know they'll come after you harder when they realize the state's involved." Tasha thought of Samson, of the spray paint on her door, of Maddox's hands slamming her against the pavement. "Let them try." Ellison nodded, respect showing in his eyes. "I've got something else you should see." He pulled out his own file. "We've been building a case against corruption in several departments. Fairgrove's been on our radar. Your incident with Maddox might be the key to breaking it open." He spread out photographs showing Maddox meeting with known drug dealers, accepting envelopes in dark parking lots. "He's not just violent, he's dirty. Takes payoffs to look the other way. Maybe worse." "The union protects him," Tasha said. "And Chen, he must know about this." Chen's been on our watch list too. Those consulting fees from the union? They spike every time a police misconduct case gets quietly dropped. The diner had filled up around them, the morning crowd arriving. Ellison gathered the photos quickly. "One more thing," he said, lowering his voice. "We've had people reaching out since your arrest hit the news. Officers who want to talk but were afraid before. Including someone from your precinct, Lisa Granger." Tasha remembered the station clerk from the night of her arrest, how uncomfortable she'd looked at Maddox's behavior. "She recorded him," Ellison continued. "After your arrest, when he was bragging to other officers about how he handled you. Got it all on her phone. The slurs, the threats, him admitting he knew the car wasn't stolen." Hope flickered in Tasha's chest. "She's willing to testify?" She and 3 other officers, plus 2 former cops who left the force because of Maddox. They're all ready to talk now that the state's involved. The waitress returned. They sat in silence until she left. "When can they make statements?" Tasha asked. "Today. I've got a safe house set up outside county lines. My team will handle everything: transport, protection, depositions. We do this right, we can take down not just Maddox, but everyone who's been covering for him." Tasha felt something shift inside her, the weight of fighting alone lifting slightly. She thought of Maria Ortiz, of Henry Wallace, of all the others Maddox had hurt. Maybe now they'd get justice. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "Keep building your case, but through my office now. We'll set you up with secure communications, round-the-clock protection. And, Ms. Reed?" His face was serious. "Watch your back. The closer we get, the more desperate they'll become." The fluorescent lights hummed in Tasha's temporary office as she and Ellison sorted through stacks of testimonies. They'd commandeered a suite at the State Building, away from prying eyes at the courthouse. Empty takeout containers littered the conference table, evidence of their long hours. "Another one," Tasha said, pushing a statement across the table. "Sandra Martinez, pulled over 3 times in 2 weeks by Maddox. No tickets issued, but she was detained each time." Ellison added it to a growing pile. "Harassment pattern. Matches what we're seeing with other minority women drivers." Jordan burst through the door, laptop clutched to his chest, his usual neat appearance rumpled from hours of work. "You need to see this," he said, breathing hard like he'd run up the stairs. "I got into Maddox's cloud backup." Tasha straightened. "How?" "Remember that form he filled out when he got his new body cam? He used the same password for everything." Jordan set up his laptop. "Most of the files are deleted, but cloud servers keep backups. I restored what I could." Ellison leaned forward. "Is this legal?" "Public server, public employee, public equipment," Jordan said. "And look, he was sloppy. Kept personal copies of his arrest reports, probably to edit them later." The screen filled with documents. Jordan clicked through them rapidly. "See the pattern? He writes up the initial report one way, then submits a cleaned-up version to the system." Tasha studied the dates. "These go back 3 years. And that's just what I've recovered so far." Jordan pulled up 2 reports, side by side. "Look at this one from last month. Initial report says the suspect was compliant and non-threatening. Final version claims they exhibited aggressive behavior and resisted arrest." "Evidence tampering," Ellison said. "Multiple counts." Tasha's phone buzzed. A text from Gloria Fields, the community activist. Another protest was forming outside the police station. The pressure was building. "We need to go public," Tasha said. "Not just file charges. The community needs to see this evidence." "Agreed," Ellison said. "But we do it smart. Controlled release, right channels." Jordan pulled up his contact list. "I've got reporters we can trust. Samantha Chen from the Herald. She's been covering police misconduct for years. And Marcus Washington at Channel 4. "Good choices," Tasha said. But we need community leaders too. People who can help control the reaction, keep protests peaceful. They worked through their list. Reverend Jackson from First Baptist, Dr. Williams from the Urban League, Professor Martinez from the law school. People with credibility and influence. Town Hall, Tasha decided. Tomorrow night at the community center, we present everything at once. The testimonies, the footage, the altered reports. I'll handle security, Ellison said. State police only, no locals. Jordan started making calls while Tasha and Ellison organized the evidence into clear, compelling presentations. Hours passed. Outside, the sky darkened and lit again. At dawn, Samantha Chen arrived first, her press credentials hanging around her neck. Marcus Washington followed with his producer. They sat through detailed briefings, taking notes, asking sharp questions. This is explosive, Samantha said, reviewing the altered reports. How many false arrests are we talking about? At least 50 confirmed so far, Jordan answered. Maybe more as we recover more files. Reverend Jackson arrived as they were setting up the audiovisual equipment for that evening. His presence filled the room with calm authority. The people are ready, he said. They've been waiting for this moment. Dr. Williams and Professor Martinez joined them, helping to craft the message. They needed the perfect balance, enough anger to demand change, enough hope to prevent violence. We do this right, Tasha said, standing before them all. And we don't just take down one bad cop, we force real reform. She looked at the faces around her. Journalists, community leaders, legal experts. Each one had fought this battle before in their own way. Now they were united. Tonight, she said, we show Fairgrove the truth. The journalists left to prepare their stories. The community leaders departed to organize their people. Jordan packed up his laptop, evidence safely backed up in multiple secure locations. Ellison checked his phone. State police are setting up at the community center. Bomb sweep at noon, security perimeter by 4. Tasha nodded, gathering the presentation materials. In 12 hours, everything would change. She thought of her father, of his quiet dignity in the face of injustice. Tonight, she'd help deliver the change he'd always hoped to see. The Fairgrove Civic Center buzzed with tension as people filed through security. State troopers lined the walls, their faces stern. Metal detectors beeped steadily as the crowd grew, filling every seat in the auditorium. Tasha stood backstage, reviewing her notes one last time. Jordan helped her connect her laptop to the projector, while Ellison coordinated with security through his earpiece. Standing room only, Jordan reported. News vans from 3 stations outside. Tasha smoothed her blazer, touching the small photo of her father she kept in the pocket. Any sign of Maddox or his people? His lawyer's here, Ellison said. Front row, looking smug, but no Maddox. Through the curtain, Tasha heard Reverend Jackson addressing the crowd. His deep voice carried authority and calm. We're here tonight for truth. We're here for justice. And we're here to support a woman who refused to be silenced. Tasha took her place at the podium, the bright lights washing over her. Faces stretched into the darkness. Elderly couples who'd lived through segregation, young activists with phones ready to record, mothers holding children close. Good evening, she began. I'm Deputy State Attorney Tasha Reed. 1 week ago, I was assaulted during a traffic stop by Officer Brent Maddox. She gestured to the screen behind her, where Jordan played the bystander video. Gasps filled the room as they watched Maddox slam her to the ground. But I'm not here about what happened to me. The footage changed to other incidents. I'm here about Sandra Martinez, pulled over 3 times in 2 weeks. About Henry Wallace, age 72, thrown against his car while walking home from church. More videos played, more names, more violence. The crowd grew restless, angry murmurs rising. For 3 years, Officer Maddox has systematically targeted minorities in our community. Tasha clicked to the next slide. Side-by-side arrest reports. He falsified police reports, deleted evidence, and intimidated witnesses. Frank Delaney, Maddox's lawyer, stood up. "This is slander. These documents aren't authenticated." "Actually," Tasha said calmly, "they're from your client's own cloud account. Public server, public employee." She nodded to Jordan, who played the next clip. Officer Lisa Granger's recording of Maddox bragging about his arrests. Maddox's voice filled the room. "These people need to learn respect. If they won't give it, I'll teach it to them." The crowd erupted. Shouts of anger mixed with cries of recognition as people saw themselves or their neighbors in the footage. Tasha raised her hands for quiet. "We've confirmed 50 false arrests, 50 lives disrupted, 50 families traumatized." She clicked through photos of the victims, elderly grandmothers, teenage boys, working parents. Each one of these people was innocent. Each one was abused by someone sworn to protect them. Professor Martinez stood up. "What about the other officers? The ones who covered for him?" "We have evidence implicating several members of the department." More documents appeared on screen. Sergeant Bill Draper, Officers Simmons and Hartley. They helped alter reports, intimidate witnesses, and destroy evidence. The crowd's anger grew. Chants of "Justice! Justice!" started in the back. Tasha held up a thick folder. This contains formal indictment requests for Officer Maddox and his conspirators. Charges include assault, false arrest, evidence tampering, and civil rights violations. She turned to face the news cameras directly. "I'm calling for immediate arrest warrants and an independent federal investigation of the entire department." The audience surged to their feet. The chanting grew louder. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Delaney tried to shout over the noise, but his voice was drowned out. He stormed toward the exit, already on his phone. Reverend Jackson took the microphone. "This is our moment, but we must remain peaceful. We must show them we're better than their violence." The chanting changed. "No justice, no peace." Tasha raised her voice above the crowd. "The time for silence is over. The time for looking away is over." She held up the folder again. "Tomorrow morning, I'm delivering these indictments, and I won't stop until every victim sees justice." The roar was deafening now. People hugged and cried. Others raised their fists in solidarity. The chanting filled every corner of the auditorium. "Justice! Now! Justice! Now!" Red and blue lights flashed across the dark highway as state troopers set up their roadblock. Lieutenant Sarah Chen checked her watch. 11:45 p.m. The tip had come in 20 minutes ago. Maddox and Draper were heading south on Route 16, likely aiming for the state line. "All units in position," her radio crackled. 2 vehicles approaching, black SUV and silver sedan. Chen raised her binoculars. The 2 cars were speeding, doing at least 80. "Hold positions," she ordered. "Let them get close." The roadblock was solid. 3 cruisers across the highway, spike strips hidden just before them. Floodlights stood ready to blind the approaching vehicles. 500 yards, the radio reported. 400, 300. Chen gave the signal. Floodlights blazed to life, illuminating the highway like daylight. The 2 vehicles swerved, trying to turn around, but more cruisers were already blocking their retreat. The SUV, Draper's vehicle, skidded to a stop, but the sedan accelerated, aiming for the narrow gap between 2 cruisers. "Spike strips," Chen commanded. The strips deployed. The sedan hit them at full speed. Tires shredded instantly, and the car spun out, nearly flipping before crashing into the guardrail. Troopers swarmed both vehicles, weapons drawn. "Hands up! Exit the vehicle slowly!" Sergeant Draper emerged from the SUV, hands raised. His face was ashen as troopers cuffed him. But Maddox wasn't giving up. He kicked his door open, gun in hand. "Drop the weapon!" Chen shouted through her megaphone. "You're surrounded!" Maddox fired twice into the air. Troopers took cover, guns trained on him. "Stay back!" he screamed. "I'm not going down for this." "It's over, Maddox," Chen called out. "Don't make this worse." "Worse?" He laughed wildly. "You know what they do to cops in prison?" "I'm not going." "Think about your family," Chen tried. "Don't do something you can't take back." Maddox's hand trembled. For a moment, the only sound was the idling of engines and the crackle of radios. Then, Draper's voice cut through the tension. "Put it down, Brent. Don't be stupid." Maddox turned toward his former sergeant's voice. A trooper seized the moment, tackling him from behind. The gun clattered away as they wrestled on the asphalt. "Stop resisting!" 3 more troopers piled on. Maddox thrashed and cursed, but they quickly had him subdued and cuffed. Chen read him his rights as they hauled him up. "Brent Maddox, you're under arrest for assault, obstruction of justice, civil rights violations." She continued the list as they put him in the back of a cruiser. Draper watched silently as his own charges were read. His shoulders slumped in defeat as they led him to a separate vehicle. By morning, news helicopters circled the Fairgrove courthouse. Reporters crowded the steps as Chief Prosecutor Elaine Bennett approached the podium, flanked by state officials. "Last night," she began, "state troopers arrested Officer Brent Maddox and Sergeant William Draper as they attempted to flee jurisdiction. Both men are now in custody, facing multiple felony charges." Camera shutters clicked rapidly. Reporters called out questions, but Bennett raised her hand for silence. "Additionally, I'm announcing that the Fairgrove Police Department will undergo a complete federal audit. Effective immediately, 6 officers have been suspended pending investigation into their roles in covering up Officer Maddox's crimes." She gestured to the FBI agent beside her. "Special Agent Marcus Thompson will lead the audit team. Every case involving these officers will be reviewed. Every complaint will be re-examined, and every victim will have their voice heard." More questions erupted. Bennett pointed to a reporter in front. "What about Captain Klein? Will he face charges?" "The investigation is ongoing," Bennett replied. "No one is above scrutiny. We will follow the evidence wherever it leads." Another reporter. "Has Officer Maddox made any statement?" "The defendants are being processed and will appear before a judge this afternoon. But let me be clear, this is bigger than 2 rogue officers. This is about systemic failures that allowed abuse to continue unchecked. And that stops today." She gripped the podium firmly. "To the people of Fairgrove, we hear you, we see you, and justice will be served." The questions continued, but Bennett had said what needed saying. She stepped away from the podium as Agent Thompson took over to explain the audit process. Inside the courthouse, Deputy State Attorney Tasha Reed watched the press conference on a monitor, ice pack pressed against her still healing ribs. The bruises would fade, but the changes she'd set in motion, those would last. 2 weeks later, the autumn sun warmed the courthouse steps as Tasha Reed approached the podium. Hundreds of community members packed the plaza, many holding signs reading, "Justice served," and "Thank you, Tasha." The bruises on her face had faded to yellow, but she stood tall, drawing strength from the sea of supportive faces before her. "Good morning," she began, her voice carrying across the hushed crowd. 2 weeks ago, we stood here demanding change. Today, I'm proud to announce that the grand jury has returned multiple indictments against former Officer Brent Maddox. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Tasha spotted Maria Ortiz in the front row, tears streaming down her face as she clutched a photo of her son. Beside her stood Henry Wallace, the elderly man who'd first shared his story of Maddox's brutality. The charges include assault, civil rights violations, falsifying evidence, and obstruction of justice. Tasha paused, letting each charge sink in. But this isn't just about one officer. 5 other members of the Fairgrove Police Department have also been indicted for their roles in covering up these crimes. More applause followed. Reporter cameras flashed as Tasha gripped the podium tighter. I see many familiar faces here today. People who trusted me with their stories when speaking out felt impossible. People who've carried the weight of injustice for far too long. She met Maria's eyes. Your courage made this possible. Your truth broke down the wall of silence. Henry Wallace raised his cane in solidarity, and others around him nodded in agreement. But our work isn't finished, Tasha continued. The federal audit has already uncovered dozens of cases that need review. We're establishing a civilian oversight board with real power, and every officer in Fairgrove will undergo mandatory bias training and de-escalation certification. Lisa Granger, the station clerk who'd turned whistleblower, stood near the courthouse doors. She'd lost her job, but gained something more valuable, her integrity. Tasha acknowledged her with a slight nod. I want to thank the honest officers who came forward. Change requires courage at every level. And to those who think these reforms go too far, I say this: justice isn't a threat to good policing. Accountability makes us all safer. A young mother pushed through the crowd, holding her daughter's hand. Tasha recognized them. The child had recorded Maddox's attack on her phone that day. Ms. Reed, the mother called out, voice trembling. My daughter couldn't sleep for days after what she saw. But now she says she wants to be a lawyer like you when she grows up. The crowd murmured appreciatively as Tasha smiled at the little girl. What's your name, sweetheart? Destiny, the girl replied shyly. Well, Destiny, you already showed more courage than most adults. Never stop standing up for what's right. Turning back to the crowd, Tasha's voice grew stronger. That's what this moment is about. Showing our children that justice is possible, that their lives matter, that no badge gives anyone the right to abuse power. Gloria Fields, the community activist, stepped forward with a bouquet of flowers. These are from all of us, she said, handing them to Tasha. Thank you for not backing down. Tasha accepted the flowers, touched by the gesture. I didn't do this alone. Every person who shared their story, every witness who came forward, every community member who demanded better, you all made this happen. The crowd's energy shifted as Jordan Hayes, Tasha's assistant, hurried up to the podium and whispered in her ear. She nodded, then turned back to the microphone. I've just received word that Brent Maddox has been denied bail. He'll remain in custody until trial. Another cheer went up, even louder than before. Maria Ortiz sobbed openly now, supported by those around her. Let me be clear about our path forward, Tasha said as the noise settled. These indictments are just the beginning. We're implementing lasting reforms that will transform policing in Fairgrove. No more closed-door discipline. No more buried complaints. No more silence in the face of wrong. The first notes of church bells rang out from St. Michael's Cathedral 2 blocks away, their deep tones rolling across the plaza. Tasha paused, letting their resonance fill the moment. Those bells remind us that change is possible, she said softly. That justice, though delayed, can still arrive. That together, we can build the community we deserve. The crowd began to chant, "Thank you, Tasha. Thank you, Tasha." She raised her hands, encompassing them all in her gesture. Thank you for believing. Thank you for standing strong. And thank you for showing that Fairgrove's heart beats with justice. The bells continued their song as the crowd surged forward, former victims and their families leading the way to personally thank her. Reporters called out questions, but Tasha focused on the people before her. The real story of Fairgrove's transformation. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please like the video and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.